It's the old drive line says Hawaii's got a red X on it. Okay. This is there. Yeah, I just want to make sure it would open because I see it.
Yeah, it's working. All right. 1 o'clock. Whoever's going to start should start.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started with introductions. If we can start in the back in the corner.
Tina Calstaff, Greenfield Public Library. Shonda Gordon, RSA. Sarah McLaughlin, RSA. Karen Luker, Normal. Rebecca Normal.
Nick, Fondle.
Joanna Luker.
Roxy Morton.
Wendy Adams, good RSA.
Sarah Naslin, Galesburg Public.
Hillary Higgins, Galesburg.
Elizabeth Wild, Henry Public. Martha Troxel, RSA.
Amanda Gray, RSA.
And I'm Cassandra Stokes from Peoria Public.
And I am Kendall Orson from RSA.
Do you want me to announce who's online?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So we have Ann Reeves from Eureka, Ann Turnbull from Kewanee, Bobby Mock from Quincy, Glenda Wilson from Broomfield, Hesslar from Galva, Melissa DeVerger from Blessing Ribbon Hospital, Patty Smith from Springfield, Sarah Arnold from Kewanee, Teresa Johnson from Fond du Lac, and Tina Murphy from Dunlap.
And just to let you know, we are changing up the agenda a little bit because Kendall was later in the agenda, but he has to go get a filling replaced. So
38 years is all you get on those, apparently.
He's going to give us an update on VC Analytics and VC Visibility.
And I was going to introduce Doug.
And introduce Doug.
So Doug will come up front. Doug is our newest staff member. About a year ago, Suzanne left us, leaving a hole. So Wendy moved into Suzanne's position to work with member services. That is correct. I keep wanting to say operations, but we changed that. Member services. So, but she was still doing a lot of the reporting stuff, and I was doing reporting stuff, and then people would send me requests for reports, which I would then send to Wendy because I didn't really have time to do it. Wendy didn't really have time to do it. So finally, we got someone hired. We converted that open position into more of an IT position, focusing on reports at first, but it will end up being a full IT position. And we hired Doug from Peoria Public. Thank you very much for allowing us to steal him. And Doug will say a few words.
Hi, I'm Doug. I've been doing library stuff for a while, most recently about 5.5 years at Peoria Public Library. And I'm looking forward to working with folks.
All right. So if you have questions or comments about reports or needs for reports, feel free to contact Doug. You can call him at the 800 number, or you can go on the website and go to the RSA support staff info, and you'll see his name down here, Doug King, and there's his email address, yes, as well as our just updated who to contact list. Even if Doug doesn't know the answer and you know he won't know the answer, feel free to email him about reporting things anyway, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, if I don't know the answer, I know people ask if I know.
That's right. He'll come and bug us.
Mm-hmm.
You can use this report request form that's on the front of the RSA page. There's the cataloging request form link right here in the new right-hand quick links bar, and then the report request form right below it, which will ask you many questions about who you are, what library you're from, what your phone number and your email is, what's a good time to call you, and then you'll just at the bottom pick, is this a new report, or do you need a report resent, or do you need something modified, and then you'll get another page with some questions you can answer, and then that will go to the help desk and we'll all see it and hopefully respond to it and set up whatever report you might need. Speaking of reports, I'm supposed to be covering a little bit about Blue Cloud Analytics. So to give you an idea of what's going on with analytics, we have started training. We've done two full online classes, two full online classes in Quincy. Next Tuesday, we're doing a basic online training. In October, there's a full online training and a basic online training. Those are on different days. Make sure you look at the title of the L2 event to sign up for the right one. And also, please, when you're out on L2 looking for Blue Cloud Analytics training, make sure it's the RSA Blue Cloud Analytics training, because SWAN is also doing Blue Cloud Analytics training. And in fact, on October 12th, we both had things, two separate sessions on the same day. And thankfully, no one signed up for the wrong one, although we were surprised nobody did. And Magic will be starting their training as well. That'll be on L2, so make sure it's an RSA event. You can use this RSA L2 events link here, and that'll filter out everybody else's training events. We have to train full online libraries and basic online libraries in different sessions because the way the product works is different. There are different permissions and different things you can do based on how you're logged in and who you are. So we cannot combine those. So that's the reason why we do basic online in one session and full online in another. So we've got one each in October. In November, Doug will be taking over, or maybe it'll be December. We'll set up at least one training of each in November, and then probably either in November or December, we'll increase it probably to one event a month. So that would be 2 onlines and 1 event a week, 2 online and 2 basics a month. And once we get to the point where people are not coming here as often, the class sizes are getting smaller, then we'll start talking about, all right, well, where can we take our laptops and go out and do a group training? Carthage, for instance, has already inquired. I believe they were the ones. So we could head out there with 5 or 6 laptops and train people out there. So we'll need to do that first and get as many people trained and as big a groups trained as we can before we start talking about individual library visits, because it's, we got to get the bulk of people trained. Even if you're not trained, you can still just send us an email or use that report request form, and we will do the report for you, no problem. So just a quick overview of Blue Cloud Analytics, which I could do much better if I knew my password, which is written down in my office. All right, sorry about that. Every person who gets training will get an individual login and an individual password, which you cannot share, because this product is available anywhere in the world with any internet connection. You can even do it on your iPhone or iPad. I'm not sure that it works 100% for all bits, but you can log in and run a report on your iPhone. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I know that you can because I did. I was bored. So you can log in, and we have a lot of reports that we've been taking from Web Reporter. There are a couple in here from Director Station. There are some that will recreate Symphony reports, and just things that people have asked for that we thought, oh, you know what, other people might like that. Let's go ahead and put that in. Over time, we'll be taking all of those Web Reporter reports, of which there are hundreds, and trying to recreate them as faithfully as we can. The data is laid out slightly differently, so they're not perfect matches, but they're pretty close. We've also got literally thousands of reports in Web Reporter that people are subscribed to that we're going to need to get converted over into this system. And then we're also working on things like IPLAR reports. So when the state releases the newest IPLAR form, whenever that is, and I have no idea when they do that, but eventually they will. If somebody could send us a copy of that, then we could take a look at what data the state library is looking for and create some IPLAR reports for you to try and count some of that data. So if you go in the shared reports folders, you'll see we have, or folder, you'll see we have lots of subfolders in here. So we have bills paid and bills unpaid, current charge activity counts and current charge activity lists. So these are things that are currently checked out. And it never fails when somebody says, can I get a count of all the things that were checked out yesterday, or a count of all the things that were checked out yesterday by hour of the day? They'll look at that count report and go, what are these 10 things? And then they want a list. So we not only have count reports, but we have list reports, and we put them in different folders because some of these folders have quite a lot of reports in them. This one's not too bad. There are some that have 20 reports in them already. Historical circulation data. This report, unlike Web Reporter, this does have historical circ data in it going back 5 years rather than just what's currently checked out. So we've got a folder for IPLAR type questions and other historical circ things, circulation counts. We don't have historical circulation lists because we can tell you what went out, but we can't. It's a lot harder to make a list of things that's checked out 3 years ago. And I don't know why you would want a list of things that checked out on Monday the 12th 3 years ago. So we don't have any of those. We have the always popular ILL and transit count and list reports. These are things like, what is the status of all of my items checked out in other libraries that are overdue or lost? Give me a list of those. Or what is the status of all of my items that I have put in transit to somewhere? I just want to see a status of everything I own that's not in my library. Or you might want to see the status of everything that has come to your library to fill a hold and your patrons have checked out, whether it's just regularly overdue or maybe you only care about the ones that are lost. So we have reports for all of these. We have count reports for them as well, but generally people want lists when you're talking about ILL and transit type reports. We've got item count and item list reports. There's a million ways to look at a shelf list, and we have several in here, and we're adding more all the time. We can output full mark records, which isn't as valuable right up front as you would think, but having the ability to mine mark data is very valuable. We can go in and look at things that are, for instance, on the wrong catalog format, so it's a VM record with a book attached. So we can look at the data and mix and match things that way. We're recreating very slowly because of the staff changes. Our end of month recreation kind of got pushed back because nobody had time to do it. But we've started recreating our end of month reports in here and trying to make them more useful. So we've got folders for last month and then last quarter or last year, user count, user list reports. If you go out to the RSA website, there is a monthly statistics report page, and this is where some of these reports have started showing up. One of the questions I frequently get is, can I get my reports from X point in time in the past, because I had them and I printed them out and I lost them or whatever, and now I'm trying to do my IPLAR and I don't have January stats. So what we've started doing is running monthly, previous 30-day reports and previous 12-month reports and just putting them all out there so that at some point in time in the future, if you needed January, well, January's on the list, so you could just run that report and see what the counts for January were. This particular report is checkouts by station library broken out by item cat 3 and 2. So that's general format, book, movie, audio, and adult, juvenile, young adult, IPLAR question report. For these end of month reports, we're putting everybody's library on the same report. It's easier for us to make one report and post it out here. Generally, people just want counts and they go in and grab the data. And they're done. There's also an Excel version of this report if you want to cut and paste. The other reason is a lot of times people may want to look at like-size libraries and compare. So this allows you to do it. And talking with all the other consortia in Illinois, almost everybody, when they do their monthly reports, do not break things out per library. They just print one and put it on their website, and it kind of can cover everything. We do not intend to stop the current end of month reports that are going out, so you'll have that baseline data. But as far as things that we're putting on the website, we'll just run it for everybody and put it out there. So, and again, there are some hold reports that are currently out. Patron search counts, things like that are out there. And as we add more reports, they'll get added to this page. In 2017, we'll just make a 2017 line and keep going, and all the old reports that we had previously created and put out on the website will still be there. So essentially what will happen is you'll come to training, you'll get a username and a password so that you can log in. You'll also get signed up for the analytics listserv. So if you, much like the ADML listserv, if you have an analytics question, you can post it to the listserv and maybe somebody will be able to answer it. And so we'll run you through how to log in, how to run a report, how to print the report, how to subscribe to the report. If you're a basic online library, that's probably all you really care about. Some of the full online libraries have a little more. They can move some columns around and things, and we show that as well. So when we'll be putting out the emails saying, hey, there's a training class coming up. They usually fill up, so when we put the email out, that's a good time to go register. What else did you want me to talk about? Visibility, right? Okay. Blue Cloud Visibility. That's the thing where we're taking the MARC records and giving them to Google. Well, they're getting played with, and then they go to Google, and Google is supposed to show them in search results. So RSA was one of the very first, if not the first, consortia to go live on Blue Cloud Visibility. They even used us for their case study at one of 3 libraries in their case study for Circe Dynix. And when we started, it was actually working pretty well. You could find things. What we found is we broke Google. So Google and Bing and Circe Dynix and Zafira, who is the company that does bib data, this bib frame data, link data, they're the ones that take what Circe Dynix pulls our database, plays with it a little bit, then they give it to Zafira. Zafira turns it into link data. So our 4.5 million records turn into something like 30 million linked data records. And then they put it out in a clearinghouse, a holding house, for library data. It's library.link that holds all of the data. And then Google looks at that data and absorbs it and does things with it. And when there were not a ton of libraries out there, it was working pretty well. The problem is there are over 1 billion records in that library.link thing, and it freaked Google out a little bit. And every month there are more and more and more records as more and more libraries are turning to this linked data. So what Google and Zafira have discovered is that because we've got 200 libraries all under one URL, they think that's affecting the search rankings and the search, the location aspect of search, because it's looking at RSA as this big 14,000 square mile conglomerate. So what we're going to do is, and it's not me, it's Circe and Zafira, are actually going to back up, and we're going to make individual links for every one of our libraries and put your data against your individual link, which will tie it closer, especially for the relevancy and the regional relevancy. And it'll chunk that data into smaller but more relevant bits. So Google thinks that will help them be able to deal with it better. And again, Google's scared to death of libraries because if all the libraries did what we did, it's 3 to 5% more data on the internet, and they cannot handle 3 to 5% more data all in one big chunk. So we were, there's the bleeding edge of technology. We were before the bleeding edge. We had to climb a hill to get to the bleeding edge. We're currently on the bleeding edge, and we're bleeding at this point. And so now we're trying to stitch ourselves back up and iterate and come up with a slightly better way of doing things so that we can get right off the bleeding edge but still be on the leading edge. So sometimes it's fun to be out front of everybody else. Sometimes, well, that's what the internet's for, right? You try something and it didn't work. Well, let's change it a little bit, try again. So this product has been getting updated about once a week to give you an idea of how quickly Google and Zafira are working with each other to either change the data on Zafira's end that they give to Google, or Google telling, hey, this is a better way to show us the data, or this is something better to do with the data, or, oh, we figured out how to use this data better. So there are weekly phone calls as they work through all these issues. Again, you have to do nothing. That's the great thing about this. You just continue using good MARC records. Brief records, never going to show up on the internet. Sorry. If you've got your paperbacks and you put them on brief records with a title and an author and a barcode, never going to make it on the internet because there's nothing relevant there for a search to look at. So Erica would tell you this morning, if you were here, that you should use good full MARC records, and then they will appear, they're much more likely to appear out there. But other than that, you really don't have to do anything. All this happens beyond us. That's what vendors are for. We just give them the data and vendors figure out how to use it. Anything else you need me for? All right. Well, you better, you've got 10 minutes to ask them.
10 minutes to ask me questions.
And then I'm going to go have a, never put sharp pointing objects in your mouth. That's what a dentist will tell you. And then you go to the dentist, and what do? Sharp pointing objects in your mouth.
Do have a handout that Erica created that some of you got this morning that were here. I might hand these out to people that were here this morning. And just a little information about the blue cloud visibility. As we were saying, things are not working the way they previously were working. So the example on there, sorry, where to go? If you tried it, I don't think you're going to get it to work. We had examples that we tried when I was getting ready for this meeting, and we couldn't bring anything up. So. The document gives you a little information about what is blue cloud visibility, the benefits for it, and as Kendall was saying, that it is very important for your catalogers at your library to make sure they're using full MARC OCLC records to get the rich data that we need for blue cloud visibility. No brief records, no shadowed records, and none of the ADML Overdrive and Baker and Taylor eRead Illinois will show up in there right now because the e-resource collections are not actually MARC records, so at this point they will not show up out there. Information on what to do is when it starts working again, and you can actually show it, is to make sure you show it to your users, to your library staff, to your trustees, that type of stuff. Make sure your contact information is updated out in L2. So, if for some reason you change a telephone number, if you change an address, your building may move, that type of stuff, be sure and change it in L2 and make sure that you're notifying Kindle too, because that information is put out there in the Blue Cloud visibility interface. So. What else is here? And then just at the very end, some information to learn a little bit more about linked data and Blue Cloud visibility. So, okay, now I think we'll jump back to the actual agenda. So, some of the things that we're going to be talking about are just reminders, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that, and I had sent out several emails about this, and it's something that we've discussed before, and that is teachers' cards. So we want to make sure that if you are get to that too. If you are actually giving out teacher cards, you do have to have an intergovernmental agreement with the school before you can actually issue teacher cards. So, and this is for teachers that live outside your library district is what we're talking about. So, If you have an intergovernmental agreement with the school, you do have to send that information to Kendall, so he does have a record of it. So, reminder there. Also, let everybody know we have a new user profile now. We have one for book club. We now have one called Book NRC, which means it does not recirculate. So, I don't know how many of you have used the book club user profile, which lots of times causes problems. If you do use it because you check things out, you get things in, you check it out to the your book club user, what happens when it recirculates is then you can check it out to a patron. When it comes back in, the workflows will tell you that it's a book club book, and it does not actually completely discharge it, so that then you can keep checking it out to your patron, and it will tell you it's book club each time it comes back in. The problem with this is lots of times people will, libraries will use this, and then they will discharge the item, send it back to the owning library. When it gets back to the owning library, it's still checked out to your book club patron, and now it's back at the owning library, and they can't do anything to uncheck it out to your book club patron. So if you're using the original one that we had, what you had to do was when you discharge something for the final time and you were sending it back to the owning library, you would have to discharge it twice to actually get it off that record. And some of the other problems that were caused with that original book club user profile is even though it was checked out to your book club user, it could still end up on a pick list. So it got very, very confusing. So Kindle created a new user profile, which is a book club non-recirculate. So if you want to use a book club user profile, you can use this one. It will not do the same thing in telling you that it is a book club book when it is returned, but it will stop that recirculating problem that causes lots of different problems in the library. So I hope that made sense when I was explaining. Catalog user accounts. These are accounts that have been created for the catalogers at your library, the ones that have gone through the transition training at this point. And we are finding that sometimes, by accident, we're hoping, although maybe not all the time, that when items are checked out, if somebody is not paying attention, they are selecting the catalog user's account. I'm going to look mine up here. So if you look me up out in workflows, you would see I have a D1500 number, which all the staff here at RSA has a D1500 number. I have the user ID that starts with the WO, which I do cataloging at Washington, so that is my cataloging account there, and then I have my Washington Public Library card. These cataloging accounts, they're just for logging in. They're just kind of an administrative account, and we want to make sure that nobody is actually checking anything out. So say if you were the cataloger and you're working on a bunch of books, we don't want you checking things out on that account. That account needs to remain charge-free. So what we are doing right now is the report has been created, and it's going to be run. Did we say once a week, Erica?
Yeah, Saturday nights.
It's going to run Saturday night. It's going to check these accounts to see if anything's checked out on them. If there are, Miranda is going to call the library and talk to the staff member and ask them to remove things off here. If it continues to be a recurring problem, then she will let me know, and then I will discuss with the library how to create another user account so they can use it instead of using this. I will say this morning Rebecca came up with an idea when they were talking about this morning that maybe we can somehow set it up so maybe it says it doesn't circulate, so that when you try to circulate something on it, you'll get a pop-up box that pops up and it doesn't allow you to do that, which to me was a very good suggestion, Rebecca. So I think we'll see if that actually works or not, but hopefully it will. And that will help stop some of it, so. Okay. We have a couple of circulation policies that we have revised, and part of it was done during a subcommittee meeting, but it's been a long time since we had a subcommittee meeting, and then another one was just done by me because I was coming up with problems and needed to revise some of them. I think going back and looking at some of our policies, sometimes when we wrote them, they made a lot of sense, and then sometimes when we go back and look at them, I thought, what did we mean when we said that? So some of it is just clarification, and some of it is adding things that have changed since we originally did the policy. So the first one that I wanted to look at is the fine block limit policy, and I'll let.
I got it.
I'm right here.
And on this on the handout and on the link that I have out on the committee page, we've got the current on one side and the revised on the other side so that you can compare them, because I thought that would be a good way of doing it. So. Oh, well, I thought I did, but I guess I didn't. It was supposed to be that way out here. Well, I didn't actually get the original one out there. I'm sorry about that. But, of course, our fine block is we do have a $5 limit. At $5, then patrons will be blocked. And our policy does say if fines are paid by an RSA member library patron, it can be kept at the receiving library. And then some information here about lost items. So. Because of some questions that I had, and once again we did discuss this at a subcommittee meeting, we decided we wanted to revise this a little bit. One of the things that I did notice in all our policies is we never had the word policy after the policy, so I went ahead and added that here, because sometimes I'm doing training and I'm handing these out and I'm thinking, I'm telling people these are policies, but nothing actually tells them it's a policy, so I added the word policy on here. We did add the $10 collection fee must be sent to the billing library. We changed the second one to the lost items to include lost, damage, or replacement items. And said the receiving library does not keep payment for damaged or replacement items. And then I took out the part, I want to take out the part that says this policy would not apply to academic libraries, schools, or special libraries. So. Any discussion? Yes.
Not all of us, okay, what collection fee? Not all of us turn, I mean, is it the fee that if it went to collection?
Right, right.
Not all of us turns that, so there might, maybe like collection agency fees, if any. You know, because if you get a fine from me, I've never sent anything to collections.
Right.
So, and just looking at this, I can see people going, what $10 collect? I don't understand.
How's everybody thinking? They need to say $10 collection agency fee?
I don't think it alerted anything.
Pay a bill, it says collection.
Right. When you do pay it, it does say that out there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say collection agency, it just says collection.
Collection of record all of them.
Would everybody else know if it said collection fee what it was referring to? Do you think, does anybody else think that's a problem and maybe it does need to be? What do you think? Wendy, you've got a look on your face.
The sentence before where it says any fines paid by RSA member library patron may be kept at the receiving library.
maybe that last sentence would read the same way. Any $10 collection fees paid must be sent to the billing library. So they understand that they're not collecting $10 because they're collecting a fine. They're collecting the $10 only if the collection fee has been billed, not something the patron's paying.
Or even, not that $10 may be standard, but even just any collection fees must be sent to the billing library. If it says collection fee,
Yeah, I just think if it read like the previous sentence, that any collection fees paid, so that they understand that if there's a collection fee that's part of what that person is paying at your library, that needs to go back to the billing library. It's not something you keep.
Okay. So any collection fee paid, and then go ahead and put by an RSA member library patron must be sent back to the billing library. How does other people feel about that? Does that make it a little bit clearer, do you think?
that would make it clearer to me, and I think easier to explain to my staff that sometimes it's going to be there, sometimes it's not.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so because we added so many different things to it, I really think this has to be taken to the users group to approve this revision of this. So as long as everybody is in agreement with everything else, all the rest of it, then we'll go ahead. Elizabeth,
Well, I'm
that's
actually
okay.
in agreement, but I'm trying to envision how replacement is different than lost or damaged, because I only replace things that are lost or damaged.
It is an option out there, though,
Okay,
on the drop down
Okay.
as a replacement. So,
okay.
Nick.
For the loss and damage replacement item thing, are we talking, and this is where I'm getting confused with kind of the damage portion of it. So if there's a fee on the card for like $3 to replace a pocket that somebody ripped, and they paid that to my library, I need to reimburse the other library that $3? Is that what this is saying, or is it just when they replace a book, pay for a book, we have to send that money on?
Well, I would think if they're charging someone for a damaged case, they should get that money.
Okay.
I think you need to, I think it's kind of hard to separate it because you can't really tell on the fines what the damage is
Yeah.
for. So I think anytime it says damaged,
Okay, so
we're going to go.
Yeah.
anything that has this is damage.
Yeah, because when I bill for damages, I make sure it's damaged, and then I put a note, damaged DVD case, damaged whatever they damaged. I have a note on it and the title of the item that was damaged.
But I don't think everybody does that.
Yeah.
Checks for $1 or $2 off to people and stuff.
Well, what does everybody think?
I just wanted to make sure I understood what was.
Well, if it would work in a library, I think there could also be the, we cut these checks once a month, and, make a really little one, but maybe there'll be 5 $1 damage fees by the time we get to the end of the month and we send it all for funds.
I think it's just really hard to separate what damaged really means between the different libraries. So I really think we kind of have to stick to just damaged as the reason that the bill was placed on the item. So anybody else want to chime in on that? No? So. Well, then the next one that we want to discuss is patron registration standards. I'll let you hand those out. Once again on this one, I added the word policy to the end of it because it was not there previously. I took off academics and schools are exempt. Originally when we did this, the reason I remember that we put academics and schools are exempt on here is because schools do not put addresses in there. So I think we put that up there because of that. But the fact is we still want them to do the part of the name standard. So I wanted to take that off there. So a little more clarification when it's talking about the line that says to prevent the creation of duplicate user records in the patron database, use the check duplicate user button when entering new users. The user search helper can also be used to check for duplicate users before creating a new user account. Wanted that in there because sometimes if you have gone into workflows and you have changed your user search helper, let me show you here. If you've changed your user search helper to search only your library, and some libraries do that, they don't leave it sit on all libraries, then when you register a new user and you get down to the button that says check for duplicate user, all it's checking is your library. It's not checking any other library. Unfortunately, when you change that in the user search helper, it also changes the search and the check duplicate user button. And I wish it didn't do that. I wish those were two separate settings, but unfortunately they're not. So I put that line in there because some libraries that have that set to their library are going to have to search for the patron using the user search helper. So that's why I put that in there. And then I, first name only, and search all libraries. So I put the word search in there. I have had libraries ask me about telephone numbers, and we wanted to make sure that it was clear enough that we wanted the area code and we want hyphens. Sometimes libraries do not put the hyphens between parts of the telephone numbers, so I wanted that in there. And then I get lots of requests about, or lots of questions about email addresses, because we do say everything needs to be in uppercase, but sometimes email addresses have upper and lowercase both in them. So
And sometimes the server is case sensitive.
yes, so we put in, so I wanted to put in here that they could be entered in upper and lowercase both. Cassandra wanted highway added to the list here, so I went ahead and added the list. A little more clarification down here. If your library needs it had just said abbreviation, I put street abbreviation in here. Changed the link to the U.S. Postal Service website. This is one of those links that I swear every time you go to click on it, it's changed again. I've never seen anything change as much as this link does. So, and then took out that it lists all abbreviations and suffixes and gives examples of not so common addresses. So, you know, I mean, basically we're saying if you need something, go out there and click on that link. I didn't really feel like that explanation underneath there was necessary. So. Any discussion about this?
I have a question.
Sure.
So for email, it's optional, so not everyone's going to get the email address. If you leave that blank, or can you type in no email, does it make a difference?
I would leave it blank. Yeah, I know. Not everybody wants to give one. And, you know, you always say when you're dealing with users is to make sure they check it regularly, because if they don't, things automatically get sent to that, and then they're like, well, I don't check my email. Why did you give us your email address? So, you know, it's always a good thing to check with them and make sure it is something that they check regularly. So, any discussion about anything else? Is there any discussion online about either one of these? Okay. Okay, then this will also go to the next users group meeting because there's several changes on it also. So. Okay. Okay, the next agenda item, which this is a discussion. And I want to talk about Share Illinois holds. And I had a question about this, and I kind of wanted to have everybody discuss and maybe come up with an agreement on how to handle this. And the question was, say your library had a book sent for one of your patrons. Your patron was done with it, you went to discharge it. When you went to discharge it, it's telling you to put it in transit to a Share Illinois library. Is everybody okay if that happens in their library? If their book is at another library and then it puts it in transit to a Share Illinois library, that library sends it on to the Share Illinois library? This is basically the question. Or would you rather it come back to you and you make that decision whether or not it goes outside of RSA? So, any thoughts?
Is that an issue with someone?
It's happened with somebody, and they wanted to know, when they discharged something, it wasn't their item. They said, should I go ahead and send it on to that library that wanted it or not, or should I send it back to the home library? So I thought, well, this is a question to ask everybody. If you're okay with it, then that's fine, and we'll just say it's okay to send it on, or
Well, that's pretty much what we're doing now. Like if a book come in from Galesburg and it's going to Henry, we send it on.
right. So everybody's okay with just sending it on?
I do have a question now.
Okay.
Do the share ones show up on the weekly naughty list? If they get
No.
that wrong?
No.
That would be really helpful because we had one that.
We have no way of knowing that. Well, it would have to be a special report.
To check it, have to be a special report.
We had one that she didn't catch right, and we kind of made a little circle.
Yeah.
It was all
We
fine.
maybe could set up a report to see.
Is that something you think you could set up a report?
Those accounts are there or something, the profile, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not.
Because right now what we do with the union list libraries
Right.
is she actually goes in and looks at every one of the
Oh,
accounts.
yeah. If you have to.
And
do
so
that,
we
that's
can't really do that with all the Share Illinois ones,
No.
but if there's some way a report could be,
Things that are transiting rather than checked out under that profile.
Yeah.
That would be a report.
Yeah, if you can't do a report, no.
no, because there's no way we could go in and individually look
So
at.
long.
I didn't know you were looking at individual union listers. It
When
seems
there's
like there
only,
should be a
like,
report.
12 libraries you're looking at, it doesn't take very long.
Well, and
It still
some of
seems like
them-
there should be a report.
Yeah.
I like reports. So.
Okay. Well, then we could just say, we'll just go ahead and if it pops up that it goes to a Share Illinois library, just go ahead and send it on to that library. And we'll start running a report where Amanda can send out another email. Okay.
Well, or even if it was a place where, people could check it regularly, because I'd be perfectly willing to. I know.
Yeah, that would be nice if everybody would.
Hey, I'm trying to trap the usually list ones before they ever get out my door. Doesn't always happen, but try.
Since our last meeting, which was forever, I have created several new documents that are out on the website that I kind of wanted to bring to everybody's attention. If you go out to Workflows Documentation and Training, there is a section called Setup and Configuration. And what I have created is a guide on setting up all the different like date due slips, hold slips, transit slips out in workflows. Unfortunately, most of these slips, well, all these slips, when you go to set them up, unlike the user search helper where you set it up and it goes to the other wizards, you have to go into each wizard individually and set these slips up, which to me is a big pain, and I wish there was some way it could be done once and go through all the wizards, but it does not. So with each one of these documents, I put in where these receipts are located, so you know which wizards actually have them. There may be some wizards that you don't use, so you don't really need to go in and set them up. Then just the document goes through, you know, each wizard. You're going to go into the properties, where to find in the properties where you set up the hold slips. Each one of them I've labeled, you know, which wizard that you're in right here. And then what I've done is I have an example of how to actually set them up. With all of them, there is a header, there is the receipt fields, there is a receipt footer, explains a little bit about what each one is, what you can put into them. And then I give a what I call a suggested minimum of information to actually put in there. There's on all of these a whole lot more information than I am suggesting as the minimum, and each library can set it up that makes it work best for them. When you're setting them up, the order that you put them in over on the right side is the order they're going to appear on the receipt. So if for some reason you want something above something else, then you're going to have to rearrange the list over on the right hand side. Thing about any of these receipts is once you get them set up, you can always go back in at any time. You're going to go in using the supervisor login, and you can add things, move things around, especially with when you're doing like the date due, because the hold slips, a lot of those are internal. But if you're doing something like a date due slip that the patron's actually going to see, there is an area on the bottom of the slip, and some of you know it, but some of you don't, with that footer at the bottom where you can actually have something in there such as, you know, book sale coming up, summer reading, sign up for story time, that type of stuff. The only thing after you put it in there, you got to remember to go back in and take it out after that event is over. But each one of them individually has their own handout. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them right here. I also just have a document here that just shows you the setup locations for each one of them, so you can see. If you actually set every one of them, you would have to set up. So, which kind of leads me then to the documents that James just created, which was how to back up your workflows configuration folder. He created documents for Windows 10. We previously had Windows 7 in here, but we now have Windows 10 in here for anybody that has the Windows 10 on their computers. And how many of you have Windows 10 right now? A few of you do, not too many yet. So anytime you set anything up like these receipts, you're going to want to go ahead and back up your CRC folder, because if something happens and your CRC folder gets corrupted, if your computer crashes and you have to reload workflows, you have to go in then again to every one of these and reset them. But if you have it saved in your CRC folder, you're not going to have to do that. You're just going to copy it, and all this will magically be set for you, and you don't have to go back in and do all of these. So, any questions about those? Okay. Next thing I did want to talk about is paid bills. And we have, well, I guess my first question is, how many of you guys, when you log in the morning, are having workflows is slow for you when you log in? A lot of you. Okay. It seems to get hung up at that helps. When it's loading, it gets to the helps part and gets hung up there. About how long, I mean, when I'm talking long, about how long are you talking about maybe?
3 minutes.
I wonder if is it all at the same time because I don't have any.
You don't have any
Not
data.
necessarily,
I usually
because
clock in
I
a little
hear from the
before
staff,
8.
'cause they're the ones that are most angry. Yeah, it's a long time that you're waiting.
Well, I was at a library doing training sometime within the last couple of weeks. And she was not logged in to workflows when I first got there. And we went ahead and logged in, and she did say it took a while. It took 15 minutes for it to load.
Oh.
And then, unfortunately, we had to set some properties and shut it down and then bring it back up. So it was like another 15 minutes for it to load. And she's let us know this week. In fact, that's where James is right now at that library trying to figure out what's going on. James did open a ticket with Cersei about it, who came back and said we had some areas in workflows that had a lot of information that needed to be deleted out of workflows. One of them was we had, and they thought maybe this would help. And one of them is when we previously we allowed patrons to place favorites in Enterprise, and there was something like 11 million favorites out there. So Kindle did go ahead and delete those last Friday, hoping that would make a difference, and it has not really made any difference. The other thing that they said could be causing a problem, although I'm not sure why this would be causing a problem, but another thing that could be causing a problem is we have 5.5 million paid bills out there in the system. So what we are going to do, just to let everybody know, is we are going to delete any paid bills that are older than 5 years. Okay. These are not unpaid bills, these are paid bills. And part of that is to get rid of a lot of them. The other part of it is BC Analytics only keeps information for 5 years, so for reporting purposes and everything, we might as well get rid of them. And also, this will be like ongoing. So it's just like we're not going to do it this time and then let it build up again. We're going to keep at it. So talking about it, amongst staff, we really don't see that because they're paid bills, that it's going to be a problem. Yes, Roxy.
Will we get like some kind of notification to know to delete those items? Are they still like attached to, because we probably have some that are in our, in our catalog that have been maybe paid and we never deleted them. So.
Well, but this is all bills, like the 10 cents.
Yeah, this.
So that's kind of, it's
Yeah.
not lost and paid.
It's not the lost and paid, it's the fine stuff, but.
Is there?
But there could be lost and paid in there, so let me put that down here so we can talk about it.
Because we would be more than happy to, delete those. We'd love to get those out of our system too.
Once again, this is probably a report that could be run.
Well, I've asked, and I don't think it could, because I'd love to have a report like that, go back and get rid of all those, because they've been paid.
I can give you a listing of all the bills that were the reason lost that are paid. What people are looking for though is the claims. Yeah, claims lost and paid.
So you could do that.
I can, definitely do a listing of just
I would definitely
bill,
like that report.
lost paid bills.
Okay, then probably what we really need to do is, this will slow this down. Because probably everybody would like to have that, right? Yeah, I'm seeing everybody saying yeah. Yeah, Nick?
Somebody the water you for.
Well,
Is there a way, is it possible or is it feasible to just have it go in and delete out all the fines, but like actually keep lost books that were paid for?
I don't know, that's a kind of question.
Should be able to.
Would it still?
I think it's a report that you run that.
You can select which.
Assuming we'll be able to select the reason for the bill.
Would it still help your purpose?
But that's the problem. We wouldn't know how much, how much is just fines and how much is lost and paid. So I guess, to me, I would rather see them all go than just the fines. I don't really see except for like Roxy said, if you've got some that you would like to make sure you've got everything deleted, out of the, is lost and you want to delete the item out of the database. Is there a reason that you would like to see them, the lost in pages kept forever?
I probably just because I like to see. I don't know. Like part of it would be to see patron history and what they've done throughout.
I never lost a book.
For when we go back and are trying to determine showing leniency or things like that. I don't know.
But don't you think 5 years would be enough of that?
Possibly. I was just curious.
We really have to do something. So unfortunately, we really have to do something. So we'll see about. We'll discuss this again with Kendall and see exactly how we'll do it. But we'll not delete anything that's lost without letting the libraries know before we do it. So we can start with the fines and then see how much is left. So. Hopefully, we're not quite sure how this is supposed to solve the loading the helps problem, but we're going to try anything we can trying to get the problem solved. Like I said, James went to the school, which is like 2 hours away, and he's going to work with them partly to see if maybe part of it's not their internet provider instead of just workflows, Well, workflows is not the problem because you said you guys have no trouble at Peoria, and log in on here. We have no problem either, and we're logging onto the service down in Springfield just like everybody else is. So, but I do know we've heard from several libraries that they are having some problems with that. So, Wendy, it's you. Messy. Let me get out of your way.
Okay, I'm just going to talk quickly about a bug that was apparently a bug that Seriously knew about that we hadn't had much of a problem with until someone sent us a question about it. Oop. Not cooking fast enough. Basically, it has to do with a hold being fulfilled, but an item to fill that hold is already in transit. And what Circe strongly, I guess, was letting us know in regards to the bug was that anytime the items are in transit and coming to you, to always use the discharge wizard, to not use the trap holds wizard. And I don't know, I'm assuming probably most of you use the discharge. In the one account that we had here where this bug had happened, we don't know for sure that the receiving library actually uses the trap hold wizard, but that was the answer we got from Circe, was there is a bug on that wizard, so we're assuming that's what happened. But basically what the situation was a library transited an item that they owned to another library for a hold. That library where the patron was waiting for the hold ended up their copy was either on shelf or was returned, and they went ahead and used their copy to fulfill the hold for the patron, but the item was still transiting from another library. So when that item was received physically at the library, again, we're assuming that the trap hold wizard was used because they knew that the hold for their patron was already satisfied. So if they thought, rather than discharging to receive it from transit, because they weren't really receiving it, they just wanted to know where it needed to go next. If the trap hold wizard was used, then the hold immediately became available for that patron in the third library where that other hold was for. So then that patron got their email or their shout bomb saying, your hold's available, and they went to their library to pick it up, and it was still sitting at the other library. So, like I said, the important thing to do is anytime that you're receiving something from transit, to still always use this discharge wizard, and then it should tell you where it's supposed to be transited to next. Definitely, if you use the discharge wizard and you get a pop-up box that says it's now available for Martha over in Washington, and you're at your library, definitely let us know then, because then I've got something else to send to CRC that says we know somebody used the discharge wizard, not the trap holds wizard, and we're still seeing this possible issue, even with that wizard. When we had the situation and I had sent the ticket to CRC, I tried one with my account and I got it to pop up and say it was available for me at my library, even though it was, at another library. I tried it twice this morning so I could show you guys an example today. And you're seeing the flow chart because I couldn't get it to work. Every time I kept telling it was transiting then to my home library rather than being available. So apparently it doesn't always happen where it shows up immediately available at the other library, but it can apparently. So just to not use the trap holds wizard, to always use the discharge wizard on items that are transiting to make sure that it works properly. Any questions?
Should we ever use the trap hold wizard for anything anymore?
Trap holds?
No, is that just
Like for your pick. What do you do?
I use discharge for that instead of trap hold.
Even for your pick, you use the discharge,
Well,
huh?
I pick those.
Oh, you guys do too? Oh,
Yeah.
We use the trap holds, but there's no reason to have to.
yeah, that's
There was some reason we liked discharge better, and I don't remember what it is now. But I think it was like it might have been
maybe your receipts. Yeah,
or
maybe
for
that's
some reason.
okay.
The resource was a pocket box. You discharge it in an extra pocket
Ah.
box. And
Oh, okay.
items you don't. That's why we discharge stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that there's a problem, but again, it's such an odd situation that maybe if you went to trap something and the hold had already somehow been fulfilled, then it might show, again, kind of keep an eye on the pop-up boxes, and if you ever got one that said now it's a hold available in some other library that instead of transiting, then we would know that it's a problem. But again, this was a circumstance that obviously doesn't always happen, where if something's transiting and then a library fulfills that hold using a different copy. So that's part of it, was the fact that hold it was coming from was already fulfilled. So it automatically popped up to the next hold at another library and made it available. So, okay.
I have more paper. I always have paper. Okay, I think I'm going to take one of each for myself. Yes, please. Thank you. Okay. Hi there. So Martha asked me to talk to you about the problem that we have been struggling with magazines, especially those magazines that are high volume magazines, things like your People, your Time, your Newsweek. So just to get a gauge of who puts in magazines, raise your hand either virtually or in the room if you put in the magazines and you've noticed this problem. Okay, good. So there's a couple documents here because we know that it's not sustainable to keep wanting you to do call number and item maintenance for these magazines. I don't think the bug is going to be fixed. We couldn't even really get a clear answer about what's causing the problem. So I think we need to readjust our strategy, and that's what I wanted to share with you today, what we're thinking for working around this really unfortunate bug that used to be a smooth process has now turned into something that is much more complicated than it needs to be. So the first document I'd like to take a look at, it's posted under the Circulation Committee meeting resources. It's this workaround procedure for cataloging weekly periodicals. I'm hoping most of you remember this is here, but I wanted to show it again because I spoke with a library, thank you, last week that was struggling with this and they didn't know about the procedure. So just remember that for now there is, like I said, it's too complicated and it's too long, but there is a way to get these put in call number and item maintenance. But like I said, going forward, I don't think this is the approach we can continue to do. One disclaimer though, if you do the serial control module at your library, you're not affected by this. So that's a good thing.
but I know most of you are. So the other document I want to take a look at is what we're thinking for how we can readjust our serial cataloging practices so that this is much more doable to put in, and it's not causing the headache of having to follow a very inflated procedure. So notice right underneath the workaround procedure, there's a proposal for rethinking serial cataloging practices. What we'd like to do, and actually we did not come up with this idea ourselves, Swan and Prairie Cat both do this for pretty much all of their magazines. We, though, would focus on the weekly magazines, the ones that are those high volume magazines. Using, instead of a comprehensive record that describes the complete run of that magazine, to focus on a bibliographic record that only describes 1 year, so an annual record. So I put in one of these as an example. Okay, I always like to change my index to periodical title. Now notice right here there's a Newsweek with 2017 in brackets. This is what our new strategy needs to be. So if I go to the bibliographic tab, it's still a nice full record, but notice it has a date 1 up here of 2017. It doesn't have 4 9s in this date 2. Usually if there's 4 9s, that means the record is still being used. It's an ongoing record. It's an open record. But further down on this record, in the description, just like up at the top in the date fix field, down here it should make it pretty clear from the title it's only 2017. So this, again, is the more sustainable way to do this. But what we need help with before we do this with a lot of these high volume records is first to make sure that if you look on the second page of this, if I can get back to it. Oh no, I've lost where it was. Okay, that's okay. We need to make sure on this second page that these are the serials they're having the most trouble with. There's quite a few listed here. This is actually a list that we took based on number of issues attached in our database and then from the other shared catalogs too that are doing this. And the one that I just added to this was Family Fun. So we can always readjust if we need to, not that this has to be a complete list, but it would be helpful just to have some feedback to make sure that these are the titles that are really causing the trouble for you. Okay. We'd like to start this with 2017, so we'll see what we can do internally to make that happen. So we'll need to make annual records for all of those. Usually it's going to be a case of cloning, but it's just making sure that we're doing certain things to the description to make sure it's a good closed record. So if the serial title changes, this is an important part of it, and it's cataloged on an annual record, we then need another record for the title to reflect the new title. I know this just happened with a Rachel Ray magazine. So if even under this new process of doing annual records, if a title changes, we'll need to be in the loop so that we can create a new annual record for it. The benefits of this, not just for us and workflows, but for your patrons too, because in the RSA CAT with those huge magazine records, a lot of times it won't even load very quickly for the patron, and so I think it's giving an inaccurate display even on the front end. And then two, I think it would make holds placement easier because again, we're only going against a record that's very clearly describing 1 year of it, so I'd like to think there'd be less margin for error compared to putting it on a record where people may or may not have done their call numbers correctly and they might just get the first available issue. And then of course there'd be no more complex workaround procedure in the maintenance wizard. Okay, so in terms of our next steps, we took a look at the Newsweek record. We ran out of time this morning to talk about this at the database committee meeting. So what I'd like to do is talk about it in November, but I do think in the interim we can begin to create these cloned annual records internally. I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't want this because I think it's really going to make searching and cataloging a lot easier. Do you have a question, Elizabeth?
I'm just confused by Redbook because it's a monthly.
I think it had to do with the number of issues attached to the record. Maybe that's one that needs to be revisited. That could have been one we took from another LSAP too, to be honest. I have no pen up here, so
That's the one I'm
read
looking
with.
at.
Oh, thank you.
Monthly, why is that on the?
Does anyone else see any of these that look like they might not need to be on here? Okay. Okay, so this list, though, I'd like to share it on the listserv too because I think there could be more feedback. But mostly, though, we're trying to go with quite a few volumes attached to these records. Like I said, this September, having the records ready this month, that won't happen, but we'll see what we can do because we'd like to start this soon because I know the workaround is not working as it should. The plan will only apply to 2017 serials, so we're not going to go back and make annual records for 2014, 15, 16 because just through your natural weeding process, those will be eliminated since I don't think most of you don't keep things too long, do you? Just a couple years, I would think at the most. So we won't go back and do it. We will, though. We were a little bit disappointed to learn because we were hoping there was a way, once we have these annual records created, that we could somehow configure the back end of the bibliographic record that describes the comprehensive run of the serial that we wouldn't want you using anymore. We were really hoping that that record could be reconfigured on our end so that it couldn't have new call numbers attached, but that's not the case. So we'll have to set up a report internally to keep an eye on this once it's fully implemented. That way, I know there'll be a learning curve, so if anybody is just having trouble remembering to use an annual record rather than the comprehensive record, we'll have to keep an eye on that and then reach out to you if we notice that it's being attached to the wrong record. For the time being, I like the serial control module libraries just to continue using the comprehensive records because there's no trouble for them using those records with that process. So I'd like that just to continue if your library uses that. Okay. So like I said, our next step is to share this on the listserv and then start to create these clones of records, and then it can be discussed with the cataloging group. But like I said, I can't imagine anybody not wanting this. Does anybody not want this? Any questions? Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your pen, too.
Expired users. Okay. I did send out an email, I think it was last month, the month before, sometime within the last couple of months. I'm asking people to look at their expired users and start working on deleting them because, as I said in the email, there were several libraries that had more expired users than they had active users, so we would like to get as many of those out of the database. And if you think about the fact that at the end of February we're going to, well, sometime probably in February, we will be adding all of Quincy's patrons in there too. That the database is going to get huge. So we want to make sure that we are getting rid of patrons that are no longer valid, no longer to library, and have been expired for a while. One of the things that we would like to do, and I wanted to discuss with people a little bit, is what our current policy says is that, let me get to where we can look at it. Our current policy said that unencumbered library cards should be deleted no later than 2 years after expiration date. So what we would like to do, you know, kind of like talking about the paid bills, is what we would like to set up is that we would start deleting unencumbered expired library cards or user accounts here at RSA, ones that have been expired longer than 3 years. So I guess we need a discussion on that and how everybody feels about that. I mean, if they're, I mean, the policy says 2 years, so we're giving you an extra year after that to go ahead and have a chance to clean them up. So then if not, then we're going to go ahead and do, yes, Nick?
My business manager says that to do the batch deletions of the library cards, we still have to get permission from the state, along with like how we have to get.
You mean the applications?
Yeah. So is that going to affect this also? Like, because like I know I'm like soon I'll be able to delete 2014. So she's going to fill out the form to get us so we can do that.
You know, I'm not sure. I think you're one of probably the you don't get permission from the. Do you get permission from the state? I think you're probably one of the few libraries that does. Does anybody else ask the state for permission to delete the applications?
It says we have to because it's on the form, the list of things that we legally have to get permission to delete. Is that not the case? Or?
I don't know because I've never seen the form, so I don't know.
Because every time I want to delete cards, this comes up.
Does it?
Do she have a copy of the? You guys have the form, or you got to?
Yeah, she has some chart that she just pulled out the other day and looked. Where because we were talking about, because like with this we were talking about now like when we do a new user card.
No, let people online know what we're talking about.
When we do a new user card, it expires after 6 months. So we were talking about do we have to submit a different date to delete new users versus old users because they've been expired for so long. I can get her to forward that document, I guess. Or
Okay.
I can follow up with it. But yeah, I mean, whenever we try to delete stuff, she's like, it has to be, the state has to prove it before I can delete them. So I didn't
Okay, well that
I'm going to prison.
know. It's kind of ridiculous.
I mean, because we've been doing this for years, just.
Well, I guess we need to wait and see your form then before we make a decision on it. That's true too. Some libraries, you don't, do you more, you guys don't fill them out anymore, do you?
When I talk to somebody about the local records act, not doing a paper application is fine. And then you don't have to, but if you do it, then.
So you've been told you have to do it also. You have to have permission to delete them.
That was the conversation that I was having several years ago. I've not taken further steps and I have lots of space. And some things absolutely ended up in,
Okay.
not those, but.
Okay. Well, this is something I guess we need to check into before we decide whether to do this or not. So if you could send us the information that you have, Nick, and maybe is this something we need to. It's one of the you didn't know, then just do it without knowing.
Take the rest of the
She tells me whatever I try to do and stuff.
Okay.
Well,
You have a cell with just library people.
Well, that's perhaps something that, even like raised with the state library, maybe they don't even realize that lots of libraries don't even have paper applications anymore because, things are online.
Right.
So maybe they just need to update their list.
Well, we will kind of hold off on that then until we get, it may be something we may even need to talk to Rails or something about. So.
Well, we could remove them from the system. They can do it.
That's right. You can. Well, we could do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
You just can't throw the application. I mean, there's lots of other things you could hang on to. You're going to hang on to that you're not using.
That's from Lily. Evan shared a link to the thing if you want to pull it up. The local records disposal certificate. It's in the chat. If you want to click on that so everybody can see it.
No, that's not. It's just a form.
Go back to the other one. Let's see. There's like a person who was supposed to come and.
Okay. Well, we will see. If you can get the actual form, Nick, that would help. Okay.
Yeah, I'm testing it right now.
Thanks. Okay.
So did anyone have anything online?
Besides Beth. Okay. Yeah, that was interesting. Okay. Another conversation that we need to have here. We have some documents that have been just created, and how do you hand out that one right there? And let me find it out here. We have a couple of documents. We have RSA member library responsibility document, but we also have an RSA functionality by membership level document. And after this document came up, we had a question from a library, and I discussed it with Kendall, and he wanted it brought up at this meeting so we could have a discussion about it. And it had to do with holds. So what this document actually has done is broken down, depending on what your membership level is in RSA, what actual functionality you have. And one of the things that a unionless library does not have is they cannot do staff-placed or patron-placed holds, which it says on this document. System-wide holds, and somewhere else it says patron-placed hold, but they're both, patron-initiated holds in RSA. And the question came up from someone who has a lot of patrons, reciprocal patrons in their library, that their home library is an RSA unionless library. And what they were saying was, now when they come into our library, we give them a reciprocal card. They are now, although they are a member of a unionless library, they are now able to go out into RSA CAT and place holds. And this is actually not a functionality of that type of library. So they were bringing this up and wanting to discuss this a little bit. So what we have done for non-RSA libraries is we do not allow them to place holds. A library can, if they are giving out a card to a non-RSA library, such as if somebody lives in, somebody comes, huh?
Somebody lives in Putnam County.
Putnam County comes into your library, or somebody from Canton Library comes in, to your library and that type of stuff. You give them a card, and it's not, they cannot place holds, but you have the option of allowing them to place local holds, so holds on your items, but nothing else. So the options that we discussed and Kendall wanted to discuss is we just leave things like they are and just let them place holds, you know, the way they've been placing holds for a while. We do with them what we do with the non-RSA libraries is we block them so they cannot place holds, and if a library wants to actually allow them to place local holds, they could go ahead and do that. And the other thing is just to let each library kind of decide what they want to do. So I guess we need a discussion on this and how you feel about this. So yes, Elizabeth.
I have no strong feelings in any direction. I'm just wondering if it also affects the eRead Illinois membership. You know, if you have.
I think they're blocked.
Oh, okay.
I think we did discuss that because they're blocked by user profiles. Okay. So I think those are blocked, so they can't do the e-read. Okay. So
I just, you know, that was one thing that I'm looking at. That's not supposed to be a deal to me, but placing them holds
you have anybody have any feeling on how they would like to see this handled? And probably part of it is that maybe none of you guys have that many. Well, I mean, you do, of course.
I have not.
Well, you have non-RSA, yeah.
Because I have Putnam County, and I let them place local holds because for many of them, I am the closest, easiest. They work in Henry, they school in Henry. They just happen to live 7 miles down the road. In some ways, you know, if what they're going to do instead is go back to the Union List library, and the Union List library is going to send a fax or request it, however, why are we going through these extra steps when they could just do it themselves if they want to do it themselves?
That's your feeling?
That's part of my
How does some other opinions?
But yeah, I don't have that many. I have non-RSA people.
You think we should just leave it like it is then? Or change it like the non-RSA?
I mean, it's don't have, other than Canton, we don't have that many of them coming in. We reciprocate with them, so.
Well, I guess if nobody has any opinion, we'll just leave it like it is, and unless we get, you know, too many complaints about it, and then we'll have to revisit it. Nobody's commenting out on the chat either. Okay. Okay. I guess we'll just leave it like it is then. Oh, it's Wendy again.
Agenda went. I'm just going to discuss, I don't know what the agenda is, briefly never due dates, or the due date of never. We again have had just a couple of circumstances recently where we've had libraries who have used particular profile or changed due dates to a never due date in workflows. Oftentimes it's like a book club situation where they're using a profile though that that never due date comes up, like a library use type profile. And not a big deal if it's your items, but we've had a couple of situations where libraries have interlibrary loaned, like for a book club, and then used a never due date, and it's just a kind of a dangerous situation of not remembering to ever send those items back if it never pops up on a list. Or if you have the owning library running reports, they're seeing that their item is listed to never be due in another library, that's bothersome for a lot of folks. So just to remember to use more of a regular circulation, definitely on interlibrary loan items, and not use that never due date for anything. Any questions on that?
Okay. Going to the section with the RSA updates on it. And just to let you know that we did have job title changes. So the department that used to be operations department, which I'm supervisor of, has now become member services department. Wendy did take over what was Suzanne's old job now. And so you just want to talk about site visits a little bit?
I've been trying to transition over as much as possible into the member services from the reports. I've still been kind of trying to balance both the last months until they had hired somebody in the reports. But I have been trying to gear up with the site visits, been sending out some communications to set up appointments for site visits. And if you haven't heard from me yet, your library will probably be hearing from me soon. Or if you've got a date or if you're interested in a site visit, please contact me. More than willing to come out as soon as possible and visit, talk about RSA and Rails, review any kind of training, questions that you guys have, that kind of thing. So, any questions on it?
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Library membership updates. Oh, well, first of all, I wanted to talk about the membership list revision. And out in the membership list, we used to have, it was kind of confusing when we had libraries that were like switching between becoming a union list library and going to basic online, but they were in that transition period where they were getting their collection all straightened out, and then they were going to get CERC training and that type of stuff. But they were previously a union list, and actually we kind of during this time they really kind of are union lists, but we were changing their membership out on the membership list to be the next level up. So then when you were getting requests from these still union list libraries and you were looking at the membership list, it was saying they were basic online when in fact they had not got to that point yet. So rewording has been done out here. So if there's a library that is changing their membership, well, like with Quincy, we have not circulating yet there, but down here where we have like Avon and Valley, which are kind of in the process, although Avon has actually circulating, but they haven't had their holds training, which you're going to get next week. We have got union list upgrade in progress. So this makes it a little bit easier for your interlibrary loan people so that they're not trying to trap holds to libraries that actually are not to that point yet. So if you haven't copied this membership list lately for your ILL staff, you might want to go ahead and do that so that they have one that's updated, and hopefully it will prevent things being trapped that actually should be checked out to the library. So oh, then it's the Kosugi update. This. Amanda and Wendy went to Kosugi this year, and so they're going to give you just a brief update.
Would you like me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, so at the end of May, we went to Indianapolis to attend Kosugi, and it was my first time and Wendy's first time. This is the annual Cersei Dynex users group for everybody in, is it North America or the United States? Not quite sure what the, but it's whatever the one that's usually held in the United States. And so all the users are invited to attend, and there's several sessions that are held by Cersei Dynex, and then there's sessions held by customers. And so for me, sort of the big thing about going was putting a lot of faces to names. You know, you see like on the Cersei Dynex listservs, people's names from other consortia and the tickets from the Cersei Dynex people. And so sort of realizing who those people were and stuff definitely makes it easier when you're trying to contact somebody for some help on something that you've maybe read about and they have experience with. It was also just really nice to sort of see Cersei Dynex as a company. I feel like I have a much better understanding of sort of like their internal structure now and how everything is all related. And it was a pretty great experience, you know, going out to that conference.
I would concur. And definitely with the Cersei Dynex and getting to meet the folks, getting to really hear a lot about the company, you know, seeing them presenting and working together. Just definitely, I think, a company that cares about all of you and cares about what works well and what doesn't. You know, they want to hear that feedback. They really are changing the product and trying to improve the product for the better of the libraries. You know, and definitely got that feeling throughout the entire conference. A few things with some of the sessions that I attended. You know, they're working on like the search improvements, and you know, seeing some of that kind of stuff will be great. Definitely a lot of discussions about, you know, BCA. I mean, Kendall presented. There was a library in Kansas that did a great presentation on BCA, just how they're starting to implement it in their library, how they're creating their training documents. So that was good to see as we're kind of, you know, transitioning into that same kind of a period for us too, and with the training and everything. So it was great to see how another library was implementing BCA. And then the big thing is the Blue Cloud, the other Blue Cloud products, the other web-based rather than desktop-based workflows with the interlibrary loan and the CERC and the cataloging that will be eventually the web-based products. Getting to see those and how they're working, and some of the planning on when some of that stuff will start getting released, so that we can start, you know, trying it out and using some of the web-based products for the workflows. That was pretty great to see. So, any questions?
Okay, with library updates, we do have 3 libraries that, whoops, I went too far. 3 new libraries that are coming on as basic online members, and it's Knoxville Public Library, Neponset Public Library, and Williamsfield Public Library. I think they are waiting for grants, so it'll probably be, I would think, sometime. Well, Knoxville's already cataloging, aren't they? Yeah, you've already done the cataloging training for it, so I'm not quite sure when these other 2 are going to start. But ongoing, Village of Avon Public Library, they are circulating, currently no holds. I will be doing holds training for them next week. Quincy Public Library will be going live at the end of February 2017. There's a lot of work for the staff here between now and then before they go live. We did have 2 libraries that left as of June 30th, and that was Dunlap High School and Blackhawk College East Campus. So, you again, Miranda. I feel like a jack in the box today.
All right, I'm just going to talk to you pretty briefly about a document that Kendall and I created. I'll show you where it is on the RSA website. So if you go to the RSA website and then go to System Info and Support and then System Parameters, we're going to scroll down, and this document's called User Profile Differences. This opens up a spreadsheet, and basically this is just sort of a spreadsheet that has all the different user profiles. So those are what's in the left-hand column, and then sort of the description. And then it has different columns that talk about what it means for those, if it's billable, if it's a user profile that never expires, there's a card fee, charge limit, it just has a lot of really useful information. If you were thinking about, deciding to use maybe a different user profile for something, or like I know sometimes schools have a hard time choosing between like the faculty user profiles or like staff for their teachers and stuff. So it's just kind of good to know that this is out here. It does get updated every time a new user profile is added.
That's the new book cover right there.
Yeah, so that's the new one that Martha talked about today. So but if there's any questions about this, I can answer it. But it's just really useful to sort of see, it can explain some information, maybe why something's doing a certain thing, like, so. But
I'm just wondering what the HMH was. I think Kendall's probably playing in my library.
yeah, that could be. I mean, he likes to play, so. So. All right. There's no questions. I'm good. So that, Martha.
New section, new RSA documents. We did have one of them right here that handed out to you, the RSA functionality, my membership. Actually, there are two documents, and this one is find it here. We have an overview document. So the one that you have right here is an overview document, but we also have a detailed document because some of this stuff you may not quite understand exactly what it is. So this one is, 4 pages? This one right here is 17 pages. So if you would like a little more detail about what we mean by basic catalog level, all that kind of stuff, then going out to the website, you're going to get a lot more detailed documents. So just to let you know that's out there, it gives you a little more explanation of what this thing actually means. So. And the other new one is, well, actually, this is not a new one. This is one that we actually updated, which is the RSA member library responsibilities. So this, oops, I already had one. Ooh. So. And this basically, and you can see this revised in July, and this gives you what RSA considers responsibility for each library. We want, somebody to attend the user group, subscribe to the listservs, and so this is something that you might want to go through, utilize standardized RSA barcodes. So it includes things such as, if you're going to do some kind of a upgrade, computers and stuff at your library, we would like to know, before time, so we are sure we have somebody here, if we need to have them here and they're not somewhere else. So just a document that we just wanted to make sure the libraries knew was out there. So. Oh, and just a little something about if you look at the RSA library support site very often, you're going to notice there are some changes over here. Some of the links were across the top. We have now moved over here to the quick link box over on the side. So there are links to, such as Kendall said, L2 events that are just specialized to RSA. Our YouTube channel where we are starting to put out different directions on how to do stuff. Up and down monitor, which will tell you, if you click on the up and down monitor, if you're not logged in, as long as this is green, it's not our problem, it's your problem. So maybe you're having an internet problem. Cataloging request form, the report request form, and we actually have in the works another more of a generalized request form that we'll eventually put out there. Wendy and Amanda and I helped create what we thought would be good for that report, and Kendall has it, so we're just waiting for him to have time to do it. So the reporting links right here, and then also if you are having trouble with your internet and sometimes your IP address is changed, then you can click on one of these and get the current IP address. We may need to enter it into our firewall. So just a little information out here. Here's you can test your internet speed, and sometimes we need to do remote desktop support with you. So all that information now is in a box down the right hand side of the support page. So let's see here. Let's get that. I did have, whoops, I've created, I'll let you check. Although something that happened just a little while ago before we even started, and they need, I mean, this needs to be recreated, but I did a fact sheet for the Blue Cloud Commerce. So I don't know that, I know all the libraries are not using it. So this fact sheet just gives you information about Blue Cloud Commerce. What it actually is this is the way that you can, your patrons can actually pay their fines, their lost items out on the RSA CAT. Everything that you really need to know about it is right here, except that we found out that there may be some problems when we were talking about something that came up between Nick and Roxy, the Morton and the Fond du Lac Library. But this right now just gives you some basic information about it. If your library is not using it, and you're not the director, you might want to take this back to your director and discuss. Are you guys using it? Peoria? No. Okay.
Get all the kids. We're on his to-do list.
What did he say?
He's on the to-do list.
That here is on the to-do list.
Kendall, you're back already, Kendall?
Yes. Hold on,
Okay, that was just freaky. It's like a voice from. Oh, Rhonda, now it's your turn. Did you want to say anything about Blue Cloud Commerce? Just.
I'm just ready to start working on it again as soon as I get all my other stuff. What's wrong with it now? Come back to you whatever I want.
Take him up on it.
It's got vegetables in it, so it's
I think probably technically a fruit.
A starchy fruit.
Yeah, I would say it's gotta be a sticky fruit.
Yeah, pumpkin.
And I don't know what it is.
I have a
It's a winter
mess, so
squash.
I have a mess. I do, but it's a mess. So,
Pretty much.
well, it's all in a mess because I dropped it in the bathroom and all this stuff. So everybody should get one of these, and one of these. And then there should be a third one. Except for the people who were there this morning, I just get the butterfly and the bee.
Yeah, I don't need any. I was here this morning. I don't need any lists.
Hey. All right.
You don't need the list of there. You can say, hey, for your bulletin board, here are things that you can use.
All right. I wanted to talk to everybody about RSA's Ellison die. Well, it's the die cut shape collection because it's not just Ellison dies anymore. Thanks to Eureka Public Library, they donated a bunch of AccuCut dies to us. So we now have a collection of Ellison dies and AccuCut dies that are searchable via the workflows and through RSA CAT. And we loan them for, we do have a website page for them, as you can see. And it has all this information I'm going to tell you about. And also I gave you a handout that says die cut shape collection that pretty much goes through the entire information I'm talking about too. But we loan out our die shapes to member libraries for up to for up to 21 days. If you don't have a machine, you can come to our offices or call us, make an arrangement, and come in and cut the shapes yourself. Or if you contact me and you don't have time to come here, or like, we can make arrangements so that you can send paper to me and I can cut the shapes for you. It's, you know, just contact me first. Don't just send me paper, please, because it would be a surprise and I may not have the shapes because they could be loaned out to a library. There, as I said, I handed, Martha, thankfully, handed out the printed out list of the die shapes. So if you can share these with people who actually make displays or would have use for these, let us, please share them, let them know, get them to use them. If you have suggestions for things you would like to see as a die shape, let us know those too. You can send an email to the help desk with my name in the subject, and I'll talk to Erica and Kendall and see what we can do about it. But any suggestions you guys have, because we would like to see this collection used more. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to run out of time today, so okay. That's not what I wanted.
We're almost done.
Yeah, I know we're almost done. Lots of times we get in early, so we're making up for it today.
Yeah.
I did put on your circulation committee handout some of the RSA upcoming events that I thought might be of interest. Next week, I'm doing a basic circulation workshop here at East Peoria. I have down the basic online Blue Cloud Analytics training for the next two are scheduled, one for September 27th and one for October the 27th. The full online is October the 12th, but currently that workshop is full, so you could join a wait list there if you wanted to. And the RSA users group meeting will be on November the 3rd, the next one. So for Rails and an Illinois State Library update, Rails has a membership standards committee that has been meeting, and the information, the link right to the draft of the standards is out here right now. If you have time, go through them, comment on them if you need to, but what Rails is trying to do is come up with standards that they would want each one of their members to meet. So this would be something sometime when you have time to go through and actually see what's out here. So. Some upcoming events for Rails that's coming up that may be of interest. There is the next Rails board meeting is going to be at Quincy. It's going to be on the 23rd, but before that, in the morning, they're having a networking event. So anybody in the Quincy area might come to the networking event. There's genealogy workshop for library staff, member update where they will be talking about the membership standards, a couple of workshops, employees who Facebook, tweet, and YouTube. Can I fire them for that? Library uses of social media, everything libraries need to know about helping genealogists, and YA crossovers, adult books for teen readers, teen books that appeal to adults. So I just put those out there because I thought they may be of interest to you. Another thing that I wanted to bring up to any of you that might be using WorldShare to do interlibrary loans, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, but I wanted to make sure people were aware of that OCLC is going to, well, it has. This came out in May, but OCLC is going to discontinue its support and testing of Microsoft Internet Explorer versions 9 and 10. And what they're saying is that you can still use them. However, you're going to experience you could experience increasing problems with that. So they are recommending that if you're using Internet Explorer 9 or 10 to begin working with your technical staff to upgrade either to Internet Explorer 11, Firefox, or Chrome. So just let you know that email is out here on the documents in case you're interested in that. We were going to, another thing is we will be at the next meeting, which is January 12th, we will be talking about possibly electing new officers. So if anybody is interested, Cassandra might just want to stay forever as the chair of the committee, but if anybody is interested in being the chair of the committee, or we've not had a secretary for a while, so if anybody would be interested in being the secretary, being the chair of the committee, basically, Cassandra would tell you it's not that difficult a position, and you're just going to be at the meetings and be the chair of the meeting, and then if we do have anything such as the two policies that we're updating, then they have to attend the user group and present that information. So she will be presenting that information at the users group. So just to think about it, if anybody would like to fill any of those positions, or we can maybe twist Cassandra's arm until she
or someone can take the position and I could be the co-chair.
That could be possible too. That's another possibility. Okay, so only other thing really quick that I did have out here, well, there's two things. An email that was sent out in June where Kindle has gone in, and probably some of you have seen this, to your accounts on RSA CAT, where they used to say, okay, delinquent block barred collection, and he reworded that so that it made more sense to your patrons. So if you went out now and you were a patron that had delinquent, if you were looking in workflows, what it would actually say is you have an overdue item and unpaid fine. So made it just a little bit user-friendly so that patrons would understand what those things actually meant. They wouldn't be too terribly confused by them. And the other thing is, another problem, we seem to have a lot of problems with holds, but another problem that we were running into is sometimes a patron would, an item would come in for a patron, the library would discharge it, it would say on the patron's account it was available, and then the patron would go out to the online catalog and cancel the hold. And then they would actually come in and get the book anyway and check it out, and that really kind of confuses workflows when that type of thing happens. So what would happen is the next day the clean hold shelf report would come out, and it would show that this item had been cleaned off, but in action, and also saying it was checked out at the same time. So Kindle went in and changed it so that if for some reason a item comes in and it says it's available, the patron cannot go out into RSA and cancel the hold. So once the item is available, they do not have the option anymore of canceling the hold. So hopefully, doing something like this is going to cause fewer problems.
And we had one patron at Peoria, I don't know why he would do it, but he would have available and then he would cancel. We think he was stealing, so when he would come in, they were like, Cassandra, you here? And I have all my staff out and we just be eyeballing him. So he stopped coming to Maine.
It scared him.
But that is good because I don't know, we think he was still, once he
Took the hold off.
Yeah.
Well, he can't, he can't do that anymore. So as of the 1st of June, couldn't do it anymore. So.
But yeah, we would just eyeball him when he come in and be peeking.
It is fixed, so you haven't had that problem anymore. Good. Well, that's good to hear. So at least some of the things we tried actually do work. So we're going to have back in whatever month it was we were previously going to have in May when we were having the previous circulation committee meeting that we had to end up canceling. We were going to do a circulation tips and tricks, and I kind of left that in here in case we had time, but we've run out of time, so we're not going to do that this time, and we'll just kind of carry that over to the next one. So
do anyone have any other cert business that they want to discuss at this time? All right, well, this next circulation committee meeting is on January 19th, 2017. All right, I guess we're adjourned. Thank you. Oh, I can't wait to go back to our staff today about that because we have to eyeball him all the time.
I don't remember how to. Yeah, turn off the.
Quick flip a U-turn.
Oh yeah, I have to do something.
No! You don't want to see here.
Okay. Just ask how to turn off the recording. Oh.